Several weeks have passed since Burnett's birthday, though we still find Ash, Lily, and Kiawe as guests at the Mele Mele Beach Shack. Though they had originally planned to just stay a night or two, it quickly extended, since Kukui and Burnett love having them around, with Kiawe only seeming to add to their joyous surrogate parenting. During this time, they have also gotten some great training in, with Burnett always being happy to battle any of them, and provide guidance on how to improve with each battle. When not battling with Burnett, Ash's Pokemon would often face each other in various sparring matches, though the most frequent challenges were unsurprisingly Pawnyid and Kommo-o, who seemed to enjoy using the other as target practice for their Z moves. Where once was animosity, now is a rivalry between equals, with both fighting their hearts out not for pride, but the joy of progress. Meanwhile, Kiawe has put most of his efforts into training Vulpix, having chosen to use it in his grand trial against Olivia to demonstrate that he has the same fiery spirit as his mother and grandfather before him. Lily and Snowy have also been a great help in this endeavor, with their frequent clashes doing wonders for the abused fire type's confidence, as it slowly but surely proves itself to be a worthy rival for its cool counterpart. Eventually, on the night before they have to return to Ula Ula for Ash's grand trial, Hala invites the three friends as well as Kukui and Burnett to Iki Town for a festival, and after all the hard work they've been putting in lately, it is good to unwind before the battles to come. Here Ash learns from the Kahuna that How succeeded in his grand trial, though according to the ponytailed youth, Nanu wasn't lying about his status as the strongest Kahuna, with How even leaving a warning for Ash, that for a lazy man, Nanu has no shortage of devious tricks up his sleeve to mess with challenges. However, instead of discouraging our hero, he grins, saying that Hull has made his day, since after his loss to the Masked Royal, he's been thinking about nothing but his next chance to take on such a challenging opponent who can help him grow. Hull praises this attitude, and says he hopes that one day soon they may battle again, suggesting that maybe they'll get a chance at the league, since he and his fellow Kahunas plan to enter, and he's already begun training. Ash beams that he'd enjoy that, and the pair part amicably.
The next morning, Kukui and Burnett take Ash, Lily, and Kiawe back to Ula Ula Island, and are met at the dock by Acerola, where she informs them that Nanu is already waiting at the battlefield, and that she'll be their guide, a fact that makes the trio sweat drop, as they remember the last time Acerola was tasked with bringing them Nanu. However, the scruffy little ragamuffin seems to think Itakeji would be the same joke twice, or else perhaps thinks the most shocking thing she could do would be to subvert their expectations by being an effective guide for once. But either way, she leads the trio along with Burnett and Kukui directly through a secret passage to the Ruins of Abundance, where they find Nanu waiting on a raised battlefield, similar to Hala's dice in Iki Town. This makes Ash smile, since last night, while enjoying one last practice battle, he learned something useful about this type of battlefield, which might just be enough to give him an edge against the notoriously tricky Kahuna. Stepping onto the field, Ash greets the Ula Ula Island Kahuna with enthusiasm, though this is met with a massive yawn, as Nanu tells Ash that he doesn't want this match to take too long, since there's just enough time left in his shift back at the police station to fit in a nap. So if the boy could hurry it up and lose, that'd be great. Ash retorts that he'll make it quick alright, but a quick win for himself, since he's here to give it 100%, and if Nanu doesn't do the same, then he won't stand a chance. The officer groans that Ash is going to be one of those challengers, just like the other boys, then bids him to bring out his Pokemon so they can get this over with. Grinning, Ash replies that he'd be happy to, though since Nanu mentioned his friends, he'd like to ask about Gladion's match first, as he already knows how one is.
At the mention of Gladion's match, Acerola bursts out in a fit of giggles, earning her a scowl from her uncle, and when Ash asks what's so funny, the girl has to struggle to answer for all her laughter. Eventually, however, she does manage, choking out that Uncle Nanu lost to an itty-bitty Rabombi. Tersely, Nanu points out the bug type had a type advantage, but Acerola retorts that it was the size of her little finger, before lapsing once more into giggles. In an awed tone, Lily asks if this means Gladion beat the Kahuna with just one Pokemon, and this causes Nanu to rub his eyes, saying he forgot to mention the main rule of his trial. He's gonna use 3 Pokemon, while Ash only gets 1. Angrily, Kiawe calls this totally unfair, but Nanu chuckles that he's a Dark-type specialist. What made them think anything about this fight was gonna be fair? He then brings forth his first Pokemon, a Krokorok, and bids Ash to do the same, a malicious grin on his face, as he encourages him to choose carefully. Initially, Ash considers using Kommo-o, or even Rufflet to make use of their resistance to the Dark and Ground types, but just before grabbing either of their Pokeballs, a quiet yet clear impulse influences him to switch his choice, and take hold of his luxury ball, before releasing Pawnyid. If his battle with the Masked Royal taught him anything, it's that Pawnyid has a knack for taking on bigger and stronger opponents with speed and precision attacks. This could be exactly what is needed to see him through this trial, not to mention the idea he had upon seeing the battlefield would be best executed by Pawnyid.
Professor Kukui excitedly takes the opportunity to referee a trial battle, and calls for the two competitors to begin. Opportunistic as ever, Nanu takes the first move, ordering an Earthquake to make use of Pawnyid's ground-type weakness. However, Ash, using what he and Pawnyid learned from their battle with Melmetal, has the Dark Steel-type leap into the air at the last moment, avoiding the attack before coming down with a Brick Break on Krokorok's head. Furiously, the larger Dark-type attempts to snap at it, but being far more nimble, Pawnyid slyly avoids this, and delivers another super effective Brick Break to the Croc's throat with precision. By the looks of Krokorok's pain reaction, this is a critical hit, and so feeling buoyed, Ash tells his friend to get in one last good shot. Nodding, Ponder descends from the ground Dark-type shoulder, easily dodging between his stubby arms before driving one last brick break into Krokorok's soft underbelly, doubling it over and taking the first victory. Rushing back over to Ash's side, Ponder takes a knee before his trainer, who beams that it did excellently, having clearly grown a lot from their recent training since it didn't even take a single hit. This praise causes pride to flash through Ponder's eyes, though all attention is called back to Nanu as he brings in his second Pokemon, that being in Alolan Persian. With a gruff chuckle, the Kahuna muses that it's ironic that between them, he'd be the one using a Persian though considering what exactly is never made clear, as when Ash gives no sign of comprehension, Nanu simply sighs and returns to battle mode. Unlike with Krokorok, whose lumbering movements cannot keep up with Ponder, it immediately becomes apparent that the speed advantage in this fight lies with Persian. Nowhere is this made clearer than the opening salvo, as before Ponder can even move, the classy cat Pokemon is upon it, tearing at his chest with Night Slashes.
Though these hits aren't very effective, the speed and ferocity with which they use troubles Ash, forcing him and Poignard to go on the defensive, as the son of Cynthia tells his friend to fall back and use Iron Defense. However, to their dismay, they soon learn that Persian is a predator, and as a predator, it has no intention of letting its prey go now that it has it in its sights, pouncing on Poignard and pinning it down. From his side of the field, Nanu grunts that it's lights out for Ash's little can opener, since Persian is vicious, but with a grin, Ash replies the Kahuna shouldn't count Poignard out just yet. He then calls for a brick break, though this time through Poignard's feet, and with a metallic cry of understanding, the Steel Dark-type lashes out, kicking Persian's knees and causing it to leap away with yowls and hisses of pain. This at last allows Poignard to regain its footing, though the same cannot be said of Persian, whose gait has changed, with it putting less weight on its injured hind legs. This also damages its ability to run, as when it sprints back towards its target for another Night Slash, Poignard is easily able to avoid it, sidestepping the blow and running the sharp blades for which it gets its name along Persian's side for extensive damage. This quickly becomes the way of things, with Poignard using its unencumbered mobility to deal more damaging blows to Persian, thus further impeding its ability to fight, until finally it crashes to the ground with spirals for eyes.
By now, Ash's friends have gotten quite excited, truly believing Ash and Ponder could go all the way. Though with a wicked chuckle, Acerola informs them that the real battle is just beginning, since now Ponder must fight Uncle Nanu's ace, Pangoro. Good to a word, the delinquent panda is brought forth a moment later, and with speed matching the name's movesake, Nanu calls for a bullet punch, which sees Pangoro shoot across the field in order to bash Ponder with a steely fist. Thankfully, Ash and Pine are in such synchronicity that without the boy even having to call for it, the Steel Dark-type reigns in her aggression, jumping back at the moment of impact, and vastly reducing the power of the already ineffective attack. However, damage was only a secondary objective of that technique, as truthfully, Nanu only wanted the easy way to get in close, as he orders Pangoro to convert the speed into a vicious hammer arm. Grunting in agreement, Pangoro takes a powerful stride forward, and brings its glowing hands together above its head, before swinging them at the mid-air Ponder like a heavy mallet, slamming the bladed fiend into the ground, creating a massive dust cloud. Considering the damage the Steel type took from its previous opponents, coupled with the exertion of back-to-back battles, Nanu is certain it won't be getting back up, and so turns its back and begins walking away after returning Pangoro, telling Ash to try again after a decade or so of training. However, before he can go, Kukui tells the Kahuna not to be so hasty and to look closer. With a sigh, he turns to see Ash, not slumped in defeat, but cheering on Ponder as he leaps from the dust cloud with his body still shining from the use of Iron Defense. Grinning, Ash yells that Nanu's gonna have to hit a lot harder than that to take him and his partner down, since Ponder's not just the team's lance, it's their shield as well. This clearly strikes a chord with the once banished Pokemon, who in the wake of Ash's declaration of trust, feels a burning need to live up to his title, and so drawing on this white-hot dedication allows it to heat its entire body, causing it to glow and change shape like steel molded by a forge.
This reforging takes only a moment, though its results are magnificent, as in Poignard's place now stands a fearsome Bisharp. Everyone is enamored by this evolution, giving their congratulations. Everyone except Nanu, who sighs that his job is never easy, as he brings Pangoro back onto the field. Mirroring its lazy trainer, the panda groans when it sees that the battle is still going on, but all the same it retakes its fighting stance, wanting to end things quickly. As it turns out, Pangoro is not the only Pokemon to emerge from its ball, as with a rattle, Kommo-o's Pokeball bursts open to reveal the adolescent Drake, as he gives a cool nod to his rival and teammate, before beginning his rhythmic dance to cheer Bisharp on. Ash is delighted by this moment of camaraderie, and how far the pair have come, but this is promptly interrupted when Kukui cries for Ash to keep his head in the game, since the battle's not over yet. Springing back to attention, Ash witnesses as Nanu flashes his Z-Ring, stating that evolution or not, he and Pangoro are wrapping this up now. Grinning confidently, Ash shoots back that they can withstand a Dark-type Z-move, but upon seeing the island power surge and Nanu feign a punch to the open air, his heart drops, as with a smirk, the older man reminds Ash that he already told him he's good friends with Hala. Suddenly, the spectral fists of all-out pummeling are launched at our hero, forcing him to think on his feet and employ his secret strategy, while also making him wish he'd tested it before now. Nonetheless, he orders Bishop to use the massive stone tiles of the battlefield to defend itself. With speed that puts its pace as a poignard to shame, Bishop buries one of its blade hands into a thick stone slab, before pulling the massive sheet of rock from its resting place and propping it up to act as a shield, as if it was some sort of medieval knight. Nanu is shocked to see the stone do an amazing job at standing up to the force of the Melee Kahuna's signature attack, as he and Pangoro only succeed in pushing Bishop back, as well as leaving small fractures in the stone. Grinning, Ash declares that Nanu must have never thought about the fact that over the many years since the island trial was founded, these stones endured the use of countless Z moves, yet still they remained intact. Once he realized that, this maneuver was child's play to come up with, since as his mother always says, you can learn a lot about something from its history.
The boy's grin then grows larger as his own Z-ring flashes before he thrusts both fists in front of him, before then banging them against each other in rhythm with Bishop, who for the first time in a real battle can feel the island power, and its connection with Ash becomes stronger than ever. It then takes a spinning leap into the air, its rotation picking up speed, until it becomes a whirling drill which soars towards Pangoro, looking to run directly through it. Nanu, however, proves himself just as adaptive as he copies Ash's stone flip technique by having Pangoro lift an entire slab far easier and far faster than Bishop had, thus causing the steel dark type to collide with the impromptu barrier, seemingly stopping his charge. However, Bishop is not about to give up, and so continues to spin, even pushing itself to accelerate its rotation until the stone begins to give way, producing smoke and dust as it's drilled into. Seeing there is no other choice but to go on the offensive again, Nanu orders Pangoro to give them everything he has, with their darkest lariat and slash combo. Instead of spinning like the Mask Royales and Cinnabar did to use the attack, Pangoro simply drives one of its arms through the stone tablet as it begins to glow with evil energy, while its claws shine white for a perfected slash attack designed to deal critical damage. As a result of the force coming from both sides, the stone tablet quickly crumbles to dust, allowing the two attacks to strike true, corkscrew crash on Pangoro and darkest slash on Bishop, with the force knocking them both back brutally. As the dust settles, it's clear that the combatants are on their last legs, quite literally, as their fatigue has forced them both to take a knee. Gruffly, Nanu tells Pangoro to get up, while Ash calls out his encouragement, and as one, the pair of dark types start slowly rising back to their feet. Having more muscle to rely on, Pangoro's ascension is the faster of the two, with it managing to stand before Bishop is even halfway up. For a moment, Ash fears that this might be the end of his trial, but then, Pangoro lets out a groan, a low rumbling sound that speaks of tremendous fatigue, before falling backwards and into unconsciousness, more than ready to take a nice long nap like his trainer. With the match now obviously over, Nanu clears his throat and wipes the sweat from his brow. In spite of himself, this battle had gotten him genuinely pumped, far more than either of the other boys had managed. In fact, it had almost been like battling Ash's father, since even with Cynthia raising him, he definitely exhibited hints of the sly old bastard in the way he fought.
However, Nanu says none of this as he approaches the blonde boy who is currently trying to figure out how to hug Bishop without gutting himself. Instead presents him with a backhanded congratulations, though after their last few run-ins, Ash can tell that this is how Nanu expresses sincerity, thanking him for the battle and extending a hand to shake. Nodding approvingly, the lazy man takes the youth's hand, and when they break apart, Ash realizes Nanu deposited something in it. Looking down, he finds what he assumes must be Darkinium Z, though when he goes to ask, he sees that the police chief has already turned his back on him and begun exiting the ruins with Acerola trailing behind him. Though, before she goes, she does give Ash one last parting gift, a Ghostinium Z, which she promises way more fun to use than its dark counterpart. Smiling, Ash calls his thanks to the uncle and niece duo, and though Nanu doesn't turn, he does give a final lazy wave, telling the kid that he expects him to go far, before he and Acerola disappear into the distance. Once he is gone, Ash turns to Bishop and his friends, and claims this calls for a celebration, since it's the end of his island challenge. However, Kiawe sweat drops and mentions that that isn't exactly true actually. As Ash might recall, there are 4 islands, which means 4 challenges. The only issue is that Tapu Fini hasn't been able to find a satisfactory replacement kahuna since the last one passed away, meaning the Pony Island Grand Trial is currently unable to be taken. This deflates Ash slightly, though sharing his mother's refusal to leave a challenge uncompleted, he suggests that perhaps if he cannot battle a kahuna, he can face the Island Guardian itself.
Truthfully, Lily and Kiawe aren't entirely convinced this is a good idea, though in contrast, Kukui beams that he's impressed by Ash's gumption, adding that he once got to battle Tapu Koko, and it was one of the most exhilarating matches he's ever had, almost like he'd feel the entire island's Z-power flowing through him from beginning to end. Getting quite excited now, Ash agrees that he wants to feel that for himself, calling it the next step on his journey, and a great form of training for Bishop and all his other Pokemon. Seeing how important this is to Ash, his friends relent, with Kiawe offering to fly them there now, an offer Ash is more than happy to accept, while Lily fishes out her trusty guidebook to search for a good landing site and any information around where Tapu Fini resides, an action which makes Kukui and Burnett smile proudly at how far their surrogate daughter has come. Following some brief goodbyes, Kiawe brings forth Charizard, getting him prepped for takeoff, while Ash in contrast returns Bishop to his ball, urging it to have a good rest after the amazing work it put in. Ash, Lily, and Kiawe then climb aboard the flying fire lizard's back and take flight, while the pair of professors wave goodbye from below, stating that they're welcome to come stay with them again whenever they like. Being a windy day, Charizard is able to find a tailwind and drift on that for a while, allowing it to conserve energy for later parts of the flight. For this reason, it doesn't suffer the usual challenges of fatiguing near the end, and so makes excellent time, barely being afternoon when the trio touched down on Ponybreaker Coast. Seeing the apprehensive look Charizard is giving the crashing waves just below them, Kiawe recalls him with his thanks, though it seems this decision might be premature, as from behind a rock, they hear a loud ripping, chomping sound. Getting a little panicked, Lily whispers asks if her friends think it's some large predatory Pokemon who likes to prowl these cliffs and pick off unwary travelers, thus causing both Ash and Kiawe to gulp, as while they hadn't been thinking that before, they certainly are now. To this end, the trio take an offensive stance, with Lily and Kiawe each bringing forth their respective Vulpixes, while Ash uses Marowak, as they hear the sound of footsteps signaling that this creature is getting closer. Then a moment later, its head and body come into view, with the kids seeing that their mystery predator is... how?
Smiling widely with malasada crumbs on his chin, Hao begins to ask what his friends are doing here, though unfortunately he does not get to finish the sentence, as in an attempt to protect Lily, Snowy had gone on the attack before he had even seen who the figure was, accidentally freezing Hao solid. Thankfully, Kiawe's Cantonian Vulpix is able to make short work of this ice, defrosting the ponytail boy with some help from Marowak. While hanging back, Lily and Snowy both bashfully apologize for the misunderstanding. Good-natured as ever, Hao tells the pair not to sweat it, instead grinning they must have been working really hard, since that ice beam was super strong. Not that he'd expect anything less from his rival. He then resumes his question from before the incident, asking why the trio are on Pony Island, with Ash explaining they're going to battle Tapu Fini since there's no official kahuna on the island. Nodding, Hao replies that in that case they'll want to head for the Ruins of Hope, explaining that he once visited there with his grandpa when he came to see the old pony kahuna. This delights Ash, who asks if Hao can show them the way, but the other boy says they'll have to check with Gladion first, causing Lily's ears to prick up as she asks if her brother is here too. It is Gladion himself who answers her, stepping out from behind the same rock Hao had, having evidently been trailing a bit behind his companion. When he sees his little sister, he smiles, stating that he asked Hao to accompany him here, since he wanted to check out the wormholes that have been popping up all over Alola, and see what connection they had to the one that appeared over Aether House a while back. This pronouncement causes Lily to go quiet, as she asks her brother if he's found anything yet, though here the boy with platinum blonde hair must shake his head, replying that all he knows is that they've been appearing more and more frequently lately, and that Ryuki has something to do with them. Frowning, Ash promises to help Gladion get to the bottom of this mystery once he's had his match with Tapu Fini, while Kiawe wonders why they haven't been hearing about these incidents if they've been occurring with increased frequency. Nodding, Hao agrees that's a good point, saying it's weird that no one's talking about big tears opening up in space, though with a furrowed brow and a flick of his fringe, Gladion states that he suspects someone is covering it up, which makes it all the more important that they figure out what's really going on.
With this settled, the five friends set off once again, now with Hao guiding the way to the Ruins of Hope, having agreed that it's in their best interest to be as strong as possible before they confront whoever might be behind this potential conspiracy. Stepping into the ruins, our heroes soon find that it's more of a cave, with a pool of shimmering seawater in the center. Bending over to inspect the water, Ash sees his own reflection, though more than that, he sees a small inlet inside the pool, with what appears to be a man-made tunnel leading somewhere Ash can't see from here. Beckoning his friends over, the blonde boy asks if they think that could be where Tapu Fini resides, with Gladion nodding that it makes sense since it is a water type, so it could easily pass through there, while the water would keep away pesky humans unless they were smart enough to discover the tunnel and determined enough to follow it while holding their breath. Looking back to the others, Ash informs them that he's going to explore the tunnel to try and find Tapu Fini, though they're under no obligation to join him if they don't want to. However, it seems that this is a waste of breath, as laying a hand on the blonde boy's shoulder, Kiawe replies that they've come with him this far, so there's no reason to suddenly stop here. Grinning that his friends are the best, Ash then brings out Primarina, while Lily does likewise with Finn. When the two water types land at the pool, both let out pleased noises, as though they can feel the purity of this water. While descending into the pool, Ash, Lily, Kiawe, Hao, and Gladion all swim over to the pair, asking for their help. Since as faster swimmers, they should be able to carry them however far the tunnel is before they run out of air. Due to her larger size, it is agreed that Primarina will carry the boys, while Lily will follow behind holding on to Finn, a plan everyone seems happy with, seeing them all take hold of their respective mounts and promising to see each other on the other side.
Then, as one, they dive. The cool water reinvigorating Ash as Primarina shoots into the tunnel like a dart, her speed underwater not even being hampered by the addition of 4 bodies. As it turns out, the tunnel is actually a staircase, with Primarina and Finn having to be careful not to scrape their riders along either the steps or the roof, as clearly the passageway was never designed to be traversed in this manner. Nonetheless, they keep pressing on, with the stairway seeming to lead to heaven itself with how long it goes, a fact that humans are all patently aware of as they begin to feel their oxygen supply run low. Then, just Just when it appears as though this whole endeavor was folly, the passageway opens up, with Primarina and Finn breaking the surface of a new pool, while the kids desperately suck in as many breaths as their lungs will allow. When their heads have finally stopped spinning, Ash and Co examine their new surroundings, discovering that in contrast to the cave they entered into, this place is far better suited to bear the name of the Ruins of Hope, being an actual temple, seemingly constructed in Tapu Fini's honor. Speaking of Tapu Fini, the heroes see it here as well, though not in any sort of state befitting an island guardian, as it lies prone against its altar, its black and blue body made more so by the modelling of bruises that cover it. It does not take the heroes long to find the culprit for these injuries, as standing over the battered Pokemon is none other than Ryuki, that malicious leer on his face, as he pets his Dragalge in seeming thanks for its act of cruelty. At the sound of their arrival, the dragon trainer turns to face his one-time allies, a clear sneer on his lips as he demands to know what they're doing here, though in a heated voice, Ash retorts they should be asking that question, along with what he's done to Tapu Fini.
Still sneering, Ryuki retorts that it's not like it's any of the baby's business, but he came here to battle it. And as you can see, he won. He then bends down and plucks a Z-Crystal unlike any Ash has ever seen before from out of Tapu Fini's shell, earning exclamations of disgust and horror from both Hao and Kiawe. While with matching looks of confusion, the others ask what just happened. Barely contained rage in his voice, Kiawe states that when an island guardian nominates a new kahuna, they do so by bestowing them with Tapuinium Z, as a promise that they will fight together to defend their island. By taking it through force, Ryuki has just defied one of Alola's most sacred traditions and become the irrefutable kahuna of Pony Island. Seeing how upset this action has made his friends, Ash fiercely demands Ryuki put the Tapuinium Z back, but shaking his head, the crass youth retorts that isn't going to happen. After all, he won it in battle, so it is his. Causing Ash to snarl that if that's how he sees things, then why don't they have a battle? And if he wins, Ryuki has to return that Z-Crystal and surrender his title as kahuna. Despite his constant dismissal of Ash, Ryuki genuinely seems to consider this offer, perhaps having gained some respect for him after the Po Town raid and his defeat of Guzma. Though before he can answer one way or the other, something comes along to draw everyone's attention. Another one of those strange wormholes, opening up directly above them.
However, this is not the only anomaly, as from the wormhole bursts a pair of large black pincers, which begin flailing wildly, much to the horror of Ryuki, who appears to know exactly what they are, muttering something that starts with a G. Fortunately for him, the pincers do not move in his direction, instead gesticulating closer and closer to the pool, until finally they clamp shut around the first things they find, Primarina and Finn. Letting out pained cries, the pair of Pokemon attempt to break free, though it seems this monster's grip is too strong, with it hoisting them and their passengers out of the water and back towards the anomaly whence it came. In the chaos of this, Gladion and Kiawe lose their grip, landing hard against the stone floor of the ruin, while Ash, Lily, and Hao are pulled through into the time-space tear, which vanishes a moment later, as if it were never there.
And that's where we'll leave things. Where will this creature from the wormhole take our captured heroes?
Can Kiawe and Gladion do anything to get them back?
And what connection does Ryuki have to the wormholes and their mysterious appearances?
Find out
as the journey continues.